Hey Shalom y'all, it's Fletch. Welcome back to OTH. And what you're looking at right now, is the Kobalt 24 volt. So it's a battery operated and a 5-inch grinder slash cutting tool. Some of the specs for it: 8,500 RPM. It does come with if you get a kit, the regular one, it comes with 5 different pieces similar to this. Regular cutoff discs and whatnot. I don't have them to show you because the one that I bought was a display model. That was the only one they had in the store at the time. They gave me a deal on it. I bought my own, so to speak. But it does come with 5 grinding discs, a cutoff disc, a blade wrench, and a soft bag. Alright, so some of the benefits of this tool: it has a 3-way support handle that you can just twist out. It's threaded, right? Pretty basic stuff, and you can put it on the top or on the side. So if you're a lefty or a righty, you can put, or if you're in a confined environment, wherever you want it. This handle does have some vibration isolation technology in it, as well as the regular handle. The regular handle is a paddle handle that has a little safety detent switch here that you have to push down, and then it'll work. One of the nice features I like about this is your wrench, where you store right here in the handle, so you don't have to worry about losing your wrench, which is a nice feature. And then the cutting guard is adjustable by hand, no tool needed, so you're able to spin it around to whatever angle that you need it at to get the job done. And so I really like that as well. And it just locks back in place like that. And this is the Lennox cutting diamond cutting blade that's in there, and it cuts metal. It cuts metal very well. Actually, here is this right here is a leaf spring shackle. We were helping a friend that had some problems with the suspension system on his truck, and they were all rusted on. And so the best and easiest way to do it was just to cut them off in this particular instance. And yes, guys, we know all about soaking it and thread buster and PB blaster and heat and yada yada yada, impact wrenches. Yeah, they weren't coming off. So anyways, we cut them off, and it'll just give you an idea. That is a very powerful tool. And here's another one. We cut it as well, and I'm going to get later in the video, guys. You'll see some demonstrations of it, grinding and cutting and whatnot. But the grinder fits nicely in your hand. It's easy to use. It has good power, and I really like it. I've used it quite a bit this year on the homestead from cutting out windows in this steel building that I'm in right now, shooting this video, to regularly sharpening my mower blades and different things like that. So without further ado, let's take a look at the tool in action. Today I'm just out working in the shop doing maintenance on my lawnmower, and so I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to show you some of my Kobalt brushless tools. And this is the grinder slash cutter. And what I'm about to do is to sharpen this blade. And I'll just tell you right off the bat, guys, that this is not your stereotypical weak-ass battery-operated power tool that you can barely push on it, because if you do, it starts to bog down. And I'll show you that here in a minute. I'll bear down on it pretty good, and you'll be able to tell by the amount of sparks that it's shooting off. But yeah, this is a very, very serious tool here. I was very, very pleasantly surprised with this. This tool also, you can put a cutting wheel on there, and it'll cut through most things like butter. It has more than enough power. Now obviously it is a high drain device, so I'd highly recommend that you get some of these 4 amp hour batteries. And yes, guys, this is all real life here on the homestead. And I'll show you the way it happens, all hot and sweaty from, you know, actually doing work on the homestead. But let me get some eye protection here, and we'll sharpen this side of the blade. And just kind of a helpful hint, so to speak, for some of you out there that might be like myself and you have transition lenses or lenses on your glasses that are coated, you definitely want to use a face shield or something like this, because if you don't, what might happen is you will get holes burnt on the coatings on your lenses. Ask me how I know. Oh, all right. Well, here we go. So hopefully you can tell by the sound of that, you know, I was bearing down on the blade pretty good, and you know, no bog down at all on the power of this thing. So these Kobalt, you know, 24V brushless tools are pretty impressive in my opinion, especially for the price. And guys, no, none of this was given to me for free. All this was purchased with my own mucho dinero, or lack thereof. Well, that'll definitely work. Alright guys, so we're going to be giving you a cutting demonstration, and just to let you know, here's the cutting disc we're going to use. And so, you know, this obviously is not some brand new cutting disc. You know, we've cut out a window and then another for a power vent off of our steel shop, and actually that piece you're looking at right there is the piece that we cut out for the power vent, and then we've got another one for the window. And this piece that we're going to be cutting here, what we're going to be doing with that is making a patch for an area where, you know, someone backed into the shop, you know, before I bought it, and put a crease, you know, a rip or a tear in the part that sticks up there in the corrugated part of that. And so we're going to put this cutting blade on. This is a diamond tip cutting blade, and if you're not aware, I highly recommend that you use something like this rather than trying to use something like this. Because what happens with a blade like this is this blade keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until there's nothing. And it gets real expensive because these blades, you know, disintegrate into nothing. And it's hard to keep a steady balance on one of these, because your blade just keeps getting smaller and smaller, versus something like this, you know, where you can just, you know, have the cutting part of this just barely, you know, through the metal that you're cutting. And so I highly recommend a diamond tip blade like this if you're not aware of such things. If you can hear a roaring noise in the background, that's a space heater out in my shop. But I did want to show you this fairly close up so that you have a better appreciation for it. On the handle right here is your wrench. And so that's a real nice place for it to be tucked away. And so you can take that out and then put it right here on there to get it out, and you just hit the lock on there, and then you can replace a grinding, cutting disc like this with the metal disc that I was just showing you. Right here on the back of it is the lock that locks it in place so that you can tighten it, and then your wrench just slides right back in there like that, and it fits flush. And it doesn't usually fall out of there. It's never fallen out on me. I suppose it could happen, but that's basically it. And then you grab this. Then you can change the blade to cut the angle that you want. There, you should be able to stand on top of it. Cut it like that. Alright, so I'll get on my eye protection and we'll give her a cut. Took me a minute to get into groove there because I didn't want to hit my clamps. But you know, you can see that once you kind of get in the groove where you got the depth of your blade set just right, it can cut through that stuff just like butter. The unit has abundant power. And here's a tip from an old tin knocker, i.e. myself. That's going to have some really sharp edges on there. We used to call those meat hangers. Sure, they probably still do in some circles, but if you'll take your grinding wheel and just lightly hit the edge of that, you know, kind of camfer it a little bit, it'll get rid of all those meat hangers, and it'll make your job a lot easier as well. A little sloppy and messy, but yeah, as you can see, right, it's got more than enough power to just continuously cut through it. So there you have it. So here's what I'm talking about when I say a meat hanger. You see that? I'll get my hand in here so it'll focus. That real sharp piece of metal hanging off right there. And so if you switch out the metal cutting disc with your grinding disc, and I'll show you that here in a second, we can you know, we can take that off so that meat hanger is no longer going to be there. And just kind of a tip for those of you out there that might be kind of new to the world of you know, having your own shop and doing things like this. If you're designing a work table like this, number one, this is a like super extra heavy duty 4x8 sheet of plywood on top, and then it's all built around that. And there's a video on my channel about that. But also, you want to have at least like, you know, a 4 to 6 inch lip or overhang on the table so that you can get clamps on it like this right here, one on each side, to hold things in place so that you can work on them. Alright, so I'll show you what I'm talking about, just cleaning up the edges on these. Alright, so here we are, and as you can see, we no longer have that real jagged edge. There's the other side there too. So we got a real nice clean edge here. We don't have to worry about, I mean, you still got to be careful, but there's not a huge meat hanger hanging out there like there was before. Alright guys, and here's a little tip today, just for watching. This is a very inexpensive yet useful tool, especially if you have acreage that you mow regularly, and unfortunately at times you find quote-unquote foreign objects. This is a blade balancer, and so the way it's designed is when you're done, you just take your blade out, then set it on here, and make sure it balances. And if that blade doesn't balance, then you need to take a little bit off. If your blade's not balanced, you're going to get some feedback, so to speak, from your mowing deck. And if you ignore it, it'll roast the bearings in your mowing deck. Now, having said that, I've talked to some old timers before that are just like, "Oh, that's a bunch of BS. I've never had a problem with it." Yeah, I get it. I understand that. Very seldom do I find a problem either. However, you know, number one, it only takes a few seconds to check, and number two, by doing this, you're able to prevent undue wear and tear on your mowing deck. And this one here definitely seems to be out. I had to take some pretty good size chunks out of this one. This one, guys, this is why you do it. This blade right here is definitely out of whack. And so the proper way, quote unquote, to do it is to just take some off the very end of this blade. Or if you can see that there's a big difference in how wide your blade is from one side to the other, you know, you can just take some material off one side. But the quickest and easiest way to do it is just to take it off the very end.